Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot using FantasyPro's Draft Wizard. We're going to be drafting up against the expert consensus rankings on FantasyPros, as well as composite ADP. The roster positions for this 12-team PPR mock draft is 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flexes, a kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. But before we could get into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get on in to this 12-team PPR mock draft from the 12th overall spot. So the 12th overall spot is one of my favorite picks in fantasy football drafts because you get those back-to-back Michael Jordan 96, 97 picks at pick 12 and 13. It almost feels like you're a little bit sneaky because in a way, it feels like you get 2 first-round picks. So looking at the draft board, it begins with Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, Bijan Robinson, Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, Josh Jacobs, and CeeDee Lamb. So the first 3 picks of this draft, all running backs. Do I agree with that? No, I would definitely take Justin Jefferson number 1 overall. At number 2, I'm probably going to be going with Jamar Chase. At 3 is where I really start to consider a guy like Christian McCaffrey, but I do understand that in a lot of redraft leagues, people are stuck in their ways. They're stuck in the ways of the past, that you need that workhorse running back early on in fantasy football drafts. There was still a decent amount of receivers that went in the first round so far. We saw 4 wide receivers, but I do still think that I would want to go with a wide receiver with the first pick. Travis Kelce at the 1.08 feels a little early to me. I get why people take him because he's the clear number 1 tight end, and he's going to go around that pick in a lot of drafts, but I feel a lot more comfortable at, say, pick 11 or 12 when it comes to taking Travis Kelce. Again, I don't think he's a bad pick at the 108, but I definitely rather have Cooper Kupp than him, and Cooper Kupp went behind him. So at the 1.12 here, the 12th overall pick, the world is still very much our oyster. So looking at who's best available at running back, Tony Pollard, Ramondre Stevenson, and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. At wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, A.J. Brown, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think we're going to go with a running back and wide receiver start to this draft. So we're going to go best wide receiver available, which is Tyreek Hill. Obviously, Tyreek Hill isn't going to be available a lot of the time at the 1.12. So had Tyreek Hill not been available here, I would have went with either Stephon Diggs or Devontae Adams. Diggs is my preferred option over Devontae Adams, but I think a lot of people are heavily discrediting Devontae Adams, and I wouldn't be shocked if he finished as a top 3 wide receiver on the season. Tyreek of the Miami Dolphins, obviously one of the best deep threats in the NFL. One of the guys that it wouldn't really be shocking if they got over 2,000 receiving yards this season. Last year, he put up a grand total of 1,700 receiving yards, and Tua missed a bunch of games. So if Tua is able to stay healthy, it should be no shock to anyone if he finishes with over 2,000 receiving yards. Then we go to running back. Now, the best running back available, according to FantasyPros, is Tony Pollard. Now, do I think that Tony Pollard could finish as a top 5 running back? Yes, but I definitely prefer 9-inch Nicholas Chubb over him. I really do think that this Cleveland Browns offense is going to look way better than they looked at the end of last season, right? The offense was actually fluttering, right? They were flying like a bird early on in the season with Jacoby Brissett under center. And once they went to Deshaun Watson, it turned into a complete and utter fucking dumpster fire. But I think Deshaun Watson plays a lot better. I think Nick Chubb could be involved in the receiving game. He was involved very early on in his career in the receiving game for the Browns. And once they brought in Kareem Hunt, it was just kind of, hey, Kareem Hunt's the better pass catcher. So we're going to give him pass catching opportunities. But Kareem Hunt is gone. And there are a lot of rumors that Chubb's going to be catching more passes. And that really does give him that potential number 1 running back upside. Again, I love the Browns offense. I think they're going to be much better than the disaster class we saw last season. So I think 9-inch Nicholas Chubb is going to absolutely feast this season in fantasy football. I think, again, he has the upside to be the number 1 running back in fantasy football. So after we go with Tyreek Hill and 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, we see A.J. Brown followed by Breece Hall, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Ramondre Stevenson, Devontae Adams, Derrick Henry, Garrett Wilson, Tony Pollard, Marky Mark Andrews, Joe Mixon, The third round opens with Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, Kenneth Walker, Pat Mahomes, Jalen Waddle away, Waddle, Josh Allen, Ron Jones, Keenan Allen, Jalen Hurts, TJ Hawkinson, and Chris Olave. Joe Mixon, just in from yesterday, Joe Mixon has agreed to restructure his contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. So anyone that was worried about Joe Mixon potentially not playing this year with the Bengals, maybe getting cut because he doesn't want to restructure his contract, he has restructured his contract. I know there was some worries early on in the offseason that he would get suspended, but that just doesn't seem like the case. Again, the NFL has been taking their sweet old time with suspending Kamara. So based upon what Mixon did last year, I don't think he would get suspended for this year. In the second round, it feels a little bit early, but I do somewhat understand it. I love Mark Andrews. He is one of my favorite players in fantasy this season. I'm waiting until the third round to take him. I can't stomach taking him in the second round, if I'm being honest with you. I have beaten a dead horse on Kenneth Walker, but if you draft Kenneth Walker in the third round, you are cruising for a bruising. They brought in Zach Charbonnet for a reason. They drafted him in the fucking second round of the NFL draft this year. Again, do I think Kenneth Walker could still be a great running back? Yes, but in the third round, it's just a little too high for me. In the fourth or fifth round, I would definitely be a lot more comfortable with that. All three of the big quarterbacks gone in the third round. I like Hawkinson, but I'd definitely rather get him in the fourth or the fifth round. So again, our draft started with Nick Chubb and Tyreek Hill. Best running back available right now is Jahmyr Gibbs. I do think there's a decent fall off after Jahmyr Gibbs. I know a lot of people are in on guys like J.K. Dobbins or Miles Sanders, but frankly, I'm just not all that confident in J.K. Dobbins. Last year, his knee was completely fucked up. Even if you saw pictures of once he was playing well, his knee looked demented. I'm as much of a doctor as Johnny Sin, so I'm not saying that J.K. Dobbins is destined to fucking break his leg this season or something like that. Knock on wood, obviously we don't root for injuries, but I'm just not as confident in J.K. Dobbins as others. Miles Sanders, I think, is a good running back, but is he really going to be getting a 3-down workload in Carolina, or are they going to use Chuba Hubbard? I don't know, man. I just think that's kind of a risky situation. Jahmyr Gibbs, it might take some time for him to get really ramped up into this offense, right, as a rookie, but this guy has incredible pass-catching skills. He is fast as fuck, like Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights, so I think Jahmyr Gibbs has the opportunity to shake and bake there in Detroit with David Montgomery, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs has incredible upside. Again, I love this Lions offense. I think they're going to be very explosive this season. Shout out to Oppenheimer, so I'm a big fan of Jahmyr Gibbs. So I think that 1-2 punch, 1-2 Mayweather of 9-inch Nicholas Chubb and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be fantastic for us. Again, very confident Nick Chubb early on. Gibbs might be just the tip technique. They ease him in a little bit. I still like Montgomery a bunch in fantasy, but I think Jahmyr Gibbs is worthy of a third-round pick. Maybe people feel a little bit more comfortable in the fourth round, but it's basically a fourth-round pick right at the 3.12. Looking at the wide receivers, Higgins, Devontae Smith, DK Metcalf. This draft was really running back heavy, so it allowed for some wide receiver value to fall to us inside of the fourth round. I am happy taking T. Higgins in the early third round. So the fact that he fell this far to the 4.01, I love that. Same thing goes with Devontae Smith. It's kind of a pick your poison to me, depending on which guy you want. They are both the 1B to their 1A in the offense, right? 1A, Jamar Chase, 1B, T. Higgins, 1A, A.J. Brown, 1B, Devontae Smith. I think T. Higgins, let's be honest, I think and this could be said about both of them, I guess, right? If Jamar Chase goes down, knock on wood, T. Higgins is instantly like a top 8 wide receiver in rankings. Same thing with A.J. Brown goes down, Devontae Smith moves up. I just feel a little bit more confident in the consistency of T. Higgins compared to Devontae Smith, and I think they both have the upside to smash in any given week. I'm a huge fan of T. Higgins as well as Devontae Smith, so if you wanted to go the other way, I wouldn't argue with you. I've talked about this a bunch, and I talked about this in the wide receiver rankings video from yesterday. I am incredibly nervous about DK Metcalf and Deebo Samuel. They were the other wide receivers that I'm sure some people would have looked at in that range. After I went with T. Higgins, we see Devontae Smith followed by Miles Booby Sanders, JK, just kidding, Dobbins, Drake, London, Chris Godwin, DK Metcalf, Joe Shiesty, Damian Pierce, George Kittle, me Timbers, Amari Cooper, and F1 Scary Terry McLaurin. The fifth opens with Deebo Samuel, DJ, Wiki Moore, Christian Watson, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins, Cam Akers, Calvin Ridley, Rashad White, DeAndre Swift, Jerry Jeudy, and Alexander Madison. DeAndre Hopkins is one of the most interesting players in fantasy football right now. And same thing goes with Dalvin Cook. They just so happen to go back-to-back in this draft. There are a lot of landing spots being hypothesized for these two, and it's like we're in fucking science class, right? Hypothesized to be which offense they're going to go to, right? There's rumors Dalvin Cook is going to go to the Jets. He's going to go to the Patriots. He's going to go to the Dolphins. He's going to go to the Bills. He's going to go to every AFC East team. Maybe he just ends up on some other random team, right? DeAndre Hopkins. There's talk about the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Titans. These guys' ADPs are going to move heavily depending on which team they sign with. If Dalvin Cook becomes the running back 2 behind Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook's ADP is going to plummet into the deep depths of fantasy football drafts. If D-Hop signs with the Titans, actually if D-Hop signs with any team, I think his ADP is going to move up a little. I think people are going to be confident in DeAndre Hopkins as a 4th round pick. I love DeAndre Hopkins in the 4th round regardless of which team he signs on. I know he's getting older up there in age, but I love DeAndre Hopkins. I'm starting to get a lot more in on Cam Akers. This guy was fantastic at the end of last season. I think if Stafford is able to stay healthy, there are some rumors about Stafford potentially getting traded, which isn't the best for Cam Akers' upside, but I think Cam Akers might be able to be kind of a post-hype sleeper, right? He's not necessarily even a sleeper right now because he goes in the 5th round of redraft leagues, but on Underdog, he goes in like the 7th, 8th round, which is definitely a lot more palatable. And he got all the hype last year, completely sucked ass for the first a zillion games of the season, and right at the end, he had that final push, basically just to kick you in the dick because you might have cut him, you might have made it to your fantasy championship, and then the guy you're going up against has Cam Akers after you drafted him because you cut him because, again, he sucked at the beginning of last season. If you've enjoyed this video this far, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as hitting that like button down below. So again, our team, Nick Chubb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tyreek Hill, and T. Higgins. Lamar Jackson is still available. Justin Fields, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, tight ends, Dallas Goedert, Kyle Pitts, Waller. At tight end at this point, I'm fine just waiting. I think we're fine waiting on quarterback as well. So we are probably going to be going with a wide receiver at this pick, and then the next pick might be another running back, but probably a double wide receiver grab here. Again, I'm pretty confident in Gibbs and Chubb, and since we have 2 flexes, we can run out 4 wide receivers every single week. So best available, Tyler Lockett in my pocket, skirt, Michael Pittman, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson. I think those are the best 4 wide receivers available. Same thing goes with kind of Mike Evans, who can elevate up there as well. My favorite out of this group is probably Michael Pittman Jr. I think a lot of people just think he's a bad player, and I get that he is not like the most skilled athlete in the National Football League, but this guy's just going to be force-fed targets, right? Back-to-back seasons, over 120 targets, 141 targets last year from the corpse of Matt Ryan. If and as long as Anthony Richardson isn't complete and utter dog shit, Michael Pittman has the upside to completely Hulk smash his way through the NFL. Because if you get 140 targets, if you get 130 targets, you are bound to be great for fantasy unless you're just allergic to the end zone, right? Remember Deontay Johnson last season? Absolutely dominates the receptions, the targets. Problem is he only gets 882 yards and he scores 0 touchdowns. I think that's going to change for Johnson. I think Michael Pittman is in a lot better space. He's in a lot better of an offense. I think the offensive line is going to look better. I'm a huge fan of Michael Pittman. I've been banging the drum for Michael Pittman all off season long. So again, we got Tyler Lockett in my pocket, Christian Kirk, or Deontay Johnson at this pick. Kind of a pick your poison. I definitely like Johnson, Pause, and Lockett the most out of this group. I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson, but you can definitely make an argument for Tyler Lockett at this pick. Tyler Lockett is the wide receiver 2 in Seattle. They bring in JSN, but Tyler Lockett has that game-breaking upside. He has the upside to catch 5 balls, get 130 receiving yards, and 2 fucking touchdowns, right? The Seattle Seahawks offense is really good. They're going to get even better with JSN. They're going to be able to move the ball. They're going to be scoring a bunch of points, even though I think Geno Smith isn't even all that great. They're going to score a bunch of points. But I'm going with Deontay Johnson. Kenny Pickett, let's be honest, small hands Pickett was terrible last season. Even the Steelers fans will probably say that, Nick, he's a rookie. Okay, sure. Like, I don't think Kenny Pickett's that bad. But as long as he gets just any bit better, Deontay Johnson's bound to score more than 0 touchdowns. That's the only time he's scored below 5 touchdowns in his career. He's going to get a bunch of targets. But, Nick, they got George Pickens. I don't really care about George Pickens. He makes these cool highlight catches, reach back like 1-3 Odell Beckham Jr. But at the end of the day, he's not the number 1 guy on the team. Deontay Johnson is going to be peppered with targets game in and game out. And you better believe he's going to continue to do that. So after Deontay Johnson, we see Lamar Jackson, Christian Kirk, Mike Dubb, Hollywood Brown, Dallas Goedert, James Conner, Brandon Ayuk, Tyler Lockett, Justin Herbert, the pervert, Isaiah Pacheco, and Treylon Burks. And this might not even be a big if at this point. This might be the reality based upon how the odds have moved to minus 300 for DeAndre Hopkins to be a receiver for the Tennessee Titans. If that is the case, Treylon Burks in the 6th round, don't do that. Now, right now, I get it, right? He's not there yet. But if DeAndre Hopkins shows up there, the only reason why you want to like Burks is you think he's good talent, which I agree with, but it's because, look, there's really no one else there to throw the ball to. They got Chig, sure, but they've got, like, Nick Westbrook, Ikaim. They've got a bunch of fucking scrubs, Kyle Phillips. If DeAndre Hopkins shows up, then Treylon Burks is fucked for fantasy football value. He could still be a good player, but for fantasy in the 6th round, that's like crazy. Darren Waller, followed by Mike Dubb, Juju Smith-Schuster, George Pickens, David Montgomery, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I want a bad bitch, Jordan Addison-Ray, Javonte Williams, Kadarius Toney, Michael Thomas, and Kyle Pitts. Every year, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. We've been fooled a million times on Kyle Pitts, and people are ready to get fooled again. The thing is, though, this time Kyle Pitts is not being drafted as high, so like in the 6th or 7th round, I guess it's more palatable, right? I can swallow my pride and select him in saying, you know what? Kyle Pitts was this fucking freak at Florida. He was amazing. He looks great in the NFL. The problem is, it's just like things haven't gone his way in terms of stats for fantasy. But he really does have number 1 tight end upside because of how good he is. The problem is just the deck is kind of stacked against him because while he's this freak athlete, his starting quarterback is Desmond Ridder. His coach is Arthur Smith, who wants to just run the ball every single play. He doesn't care if the team is getting raw dogged in the game. They're going to be down 72 fucking points, and they're not going to say uncle and start trying to throw the ball deep in the game. They're going to just run the ball gently down the stream. That hurts Kyle Pitts, but again, in the 7th round, you can just say, this guy's a freak athlete. I'm going to just do it anyways. Fuck it, we ball, and then just draft him. So Fields is available in the 7th round. Let's be honest with you. I think this is possible because I think the average fantasy football fan still doesn't respect Justin Fields. I think the average guy or girl that throws on fantasy videos in August, does their fantasy draft in late August, early September, they think Justin Fields is a terrible passer. They think Justin Fields, in terms of efficiency stats, isn't good with his arm. They think he's a running merchant. They don't think he has any skill at all. They don't understand the offensive line is better. They would rather draft Justin Herbert over him. Now, in terms of just quarterback versus quarterback, I'd probably rather have Herbert. But this is fantasy football where rushing means so much. Him getting wiki DJ Moore adds so much to it. I don't think he should be available in the 7th round, but it should be a shock to no one. If you think this is impossible, then just go ahead and give me Trevor Lawrence instead of Justin Fields. But we're going to go with Justin Fields at that pick. And then the 8th round opens here with our pick. Obviously, the one thing I hate about this website is I always accidentally start highlighting things when I try to scroll down on the board. Happens every single fucking draft. I just did it again. You hate to see it. There's also a humongous mic blocking half of my face, so I can't see some of the screen. 8th round opens here. We still don't have a tight end, but again, once you get deep into this range, like, do you really want to reach on Pat Freiermuth in the 8th round, right? Like, I love Evan Ingram, but I'm not fiending here, scratching my fucking face, fiending for Evan Ingram. I'm just not. So I'd rather just wait. Kamara's interesting. He said no contest to what happened, pleads no contest to misdemeanor charge. Is he going to get suspended? I think so, but maybe he only gets 4 games instead of 6. Again, at some point, I'm going to draft him in one of these, and it might be today, to where you just understand that, like, I think Alvin Kamara might not be finished, but he did not look great down the stretch of last season. He did not look like the same Alvin Kamara that we're used to. Is he completely fucked? Is his career over? No, but I will acknowledge they definitely didn't look as good last season compared to seasons prior. They also bring in Jamal with 2 A's Williams. They draft Kendre Miller, and they still want to use Taysom Hill, so Taysom Hill could steal goal line touches. Like, there's a lot of things that could go wrong for Kamara, but then you could just tell yourself he's Alvin Kamara. I've been fading him full on, but I still think even guys that I'm fading, like Metcalf or Deebo Samuel, if I'm doing 10 drafts, I still want some Metcalf, some Deebo. I still want some Kamara, because while I'm not fully trusting in them, I think logically, if I just fully fade these guys and I do 10 leagues, what if Metcalf, Debo, or Kamara's the guy you need and you just fully faded him? Like, you're going to end up losing a bunch of leagues. So I want to go with Kamara here, even though I think I wouldn't do it in most leagues. We're just going to take that shot on him again. We'll just leave Chubb and Jahmyr Gibbs in for the first couple of weeks. Because, again, I still think Kamara is going to get suspended. It just seems now like maybe it won't be the full 6 games. I do think it will be at least 4, though. After I'm Kamara, we see Rashad Penny, Trevor Lawrence, Jahan Dotson, Tua Tagovailoa. I'm wearing my Tua Anon shirt, Tua Anon. I am a big part of that. Obviously, I'm a Tua truther. Cortland Sutton, Gabe Davis, Brandon Cooks, James Cook, back-to-back Cooks in the kitchen. Rashad Master Bateman, Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, Quentin Johnston, Jacoby Myers, Alan Lazard. If you take Alan Lazard in the 9th round, just rethink your whole life. A.J. Dillon, Elijah Moore, Antonio Gibson, Samaj A.P. Ryan, Khalil Herbert, the pervert. Actually, just Justin Herbert, the pervert. Just Khalil Herbert here. Jameson Williams, Rondell Moore, and Jamal with 2 A's Williams. We need another running back, I'm feeling here, and then we're going to draft a receiver. Again, tight end, I'm just fine waiting. I'm just going to wait for the later tight end. So we're going to go running back here. We're going to go... I think Brian Robinson's safer than Damian Harris, but we're going to hunt for the upside later in the draft for Damian Harris. I don't think James Cook is that guy for the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, there's a chance that Dalvin Cook does the billionaire strut into the Buffalo Bills offense and just completely destroys any value Damian Harris has, but I think Damian Harris is going to be getting a bunch of carries in this offense. Again, the Bills are just a team that's going to be scoring a bunch of points. If you bought into Devin Singletary last year, which I did, you are going to want to buy into Damian Harris because Devin Singletary sucks and Damian Harris is actually good, so it actually makes sense to draft Damian Harris, whereas Devin Singletary was kind of a pipe dream last season. So we're to draft a receiver here. Nico Collins, Zay Flowers, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, Tyler, Boyd, Zay Jones, Adam Thielen. I was kind of in on Adam Thielen. I have now realized that while I love the player Adam Thielen, there's really no need to draft him. Like, I could just draft any of the other receivers there. Mingo, I could draft Baby Chark. I could wait until the end of the draft and just draft another guy on their team. Like, it doesn't feel like I need to draft Adam Thielen. I feel like I was kind of overthinking things there, oversimplifying things. To me, Nico Collins is the clear pick. I think if you're looking for just straight up, unadulterated, pure upside, you go with Zay Flowers, right? We don't know who the number 1 receiver on the Ravens is going to be. He's a rookie. Rookie receivers always have upside. He was a first-round NFL draft pick. He's a good player out of college. And it seems like, based upon everything I've read, the Ravens want to throw the ball a little bit more, which gives Zay Flowers some more oomph. But I'm going to go with Nico Collins. I have drafted him so many times. You might sound like a broken record at this point, but he's the number 1 receiver on the Texans, in my opinion. C.J. Stroud's a humongous upgrade over Giraffe Neck, Davis Money Mills, and I just think this offense is going to be a lot more potent this season, and I'm a big fan of what Nico Collins has done in the past. He, again, has not been a consistent player ever because his quarterback situation in Houston has been complete and utter flaming pile of dog shit, but at the end of the day, I think it's a lot better this season. So after we go Nico, hey, Nico, let's go bowling. Brian Robinson, Zach Charbonnet, Odell Beckham Jr., Jerick McKinnon, Tyler, Boyd, Zay Flowers, Sky with 2 Ys more, Darnell, here comes the Mooney, money, 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 Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell, Devin 2 Chains, the 11th opens with Zay Jones, Adam Thielen, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Evan Ingram, Romeo Dobbs, Pat Fryermuth, David the Chief Njoku, Tank Bigsby, KJ Osborne, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Tyler Algier. So we still don't have a tight end. Again, you can wait as long as you want. I'm a huge Dalton Schultz guy, but we already have a piece of this Texans offense, so I really want to double down on an offense that I don't think is going to be that great. Again, I think they're going to be a big step up from last year, and that's going to help out Collins. I think Schultz is a good pick. But I think I'd rather just take a shot on another offense that I don't think is going to be that good, but I think the player himself is good. I'm going to take the shot on the boy Chig. This guy had a bunch of solid games last season when he was actually given the opportunity to play. Again, I'm not enamored with the Tennessee Titans offense. I don't think anyone, except for maybe Titans fans, are going to galaxy brain themselves into thinking the Titans are going to be this great offense. But if Tannehill is able to play all year, let's be honest, that's got to be better than Malik Willis or what they, like the guys they're rolling out last year, Josh Dobbs. So we're going to go with Chig here. And then I'm thinking, this is something I want to talk about real quick. Brock Purdy, big cock Brock. Seems like he's going to be the starter. You might want to rank him higher. Like, I might start thinking about putting him as, like, quarterback 16. Because I think big cock Brock is a straight-up league winner. And we're going to be talking about him soon in another video. But we got another pick here. We got our tight end. We filled out our whole roster. So Fields, Chubb, Gibbs, Hill, Higgins, Chig, Pittman, and Deontay Johnson are our starters. Our bench is Kamara, Harris, and Nico Collins. 3 more bench spots, then a defense and a kicker. I think we want to go with another running back here or a receiver, depending on the board. We could go double tight end, actually, when you draft a guy like Chig, but I'm not really someone who likes to draft 2 tight ends, right? If Chig is just a disaster, right? If you start the season off, the guy scores like 4 points, I give him another chance, right? Week 1 is always like fluky, in my opinion. Like some random you've never even heard of just has an amazing game. Like Justin Jefferson scores 3 points, and you start to rethink your whole fucking life, your whole existence. And then like the next week, everything's normal, or like a couple of weeks later, correct? So early on, I wouldn't like just give up completely on Chig, but if you put up 2-3 bad games in a row, I'm just cutting way with him. So let's go with a receiver here. We got 4 running backs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 receivers. But again, in a double flex league, the receivers I want in PPR, I want a lot of receivers on this team. I want to be deep at the receiver position. Renfro kind of seems like a guy who might get traded, which could be interesting for his fantasy value. I see a lot of people trying to draft Michael Gallup. Like, I get it, but they have Brandon Cooks now. They have CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to go DJ Chark. Baby Chark, baby Chark. Could be the number 1 receiver on the Panthers. Some people like Bingo. Some people like Thielen. You know, there's a bunch of guys that team has. They got Laviska, fucking Chenault. But I'm going to go with Baby Chark here. We've seen the upside out of him. He hasn't really had a couple season stretch of greatness, but he did have that one great season back in Jacksonville with Gardner Minshew. So we are back up on the board here. After we went with Baby Chark, we see Kenny Gainwell, Devin Singletary, Kendre Miller, Jerome Ford, Jalen Warren, Donta Foreman, Dalton Schultz, Ezekiel Elliott, Raheem Mostert, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyler Higbee. The 13th opens with Geno Smith, Dak Prescott, Robert Woods, Greg Dulcich, Roshan Johnson, Leonard Fournette, Kirk Cousins, Anthony Richardson, Cole Kmet, A.A. Ron Rodgers, and Jawan Johnson. So we're back up on the board here. Definitely going to go with at least 1 running back at this pick. Again, if you want, you can go 2 tight ends. What's Everett's bye week? You want to make sure if you're drafting 2 tight ends, you draft with 2 different bye weeks. So Chig is bye 5, Everett bye 7, right? Yeah, oh no, bye 5, and Chig is bye 7, my bad. So yeah, we're going to do that. He's definitely the best tight end available. I mean, I love my boy Gesicki, but let's be honest with you. In New England, where they already have Hunter Henry, let's not do that. So we got Chig, and we got Everett. And then we're going to go with a running back here. I'm going to go with Gus Bus. I talked about him in my running back sleeper video. We're actually not going to go with him, though, because there's all these rumors about Josh Jacobs not coming back. He's going to hold out. I don't fucking think so, but people seem to think so. So we're going to go Zamir White, because if he does hold out, then we're going to look like a bunch of geniuses, a bunch of fantasy gurus, because we got the starting running back on the Las Vegas Raiders with our last actual pick. Now we got to go defense and kicker. Again, my strategy for defenses and kickers has been the same for years. You want to draft a defense for the defense that is playing up against a not-so-hot opponent in week number 1. For the kicker, you just draft whoever the best kicker is that you like. So we're going to go with, I like Bucker the most out of Bucker, Bass, and McPherson. But if you want to go with the other ones, I'm not going to argue with you. And then for defense, you want a defense playing up against a not-so-hot opponent in week 1. So for instance, the Chiefs, they're playing the Lions. I like the Lions offense. I think the Chiefs will kind of play really good against them because it is week 1. Andy Reid has all that time to set things up, but that still kind of feels like a landmine. That has the likings of a game that might have 60 points scored. Now, obviously, is it going to? Probably not, but you could see that happening, right? Just a fucking back-and-forth affair. Jared Goff, Patty Mahomes, Miami Dolphins. We've seen Goff and Mahomes go back-to-back against each other. Rams versus Chiefs all those years ago. Dolphins got Justin Herbert the pervert week 1. You don't want to be eating that landmine. The Steelers. Who are the Steelers playing? Because I don't know them off the top of my head. They got the Niners. Fuck that. The Saints, they're the easy one I take every single time because they got the Titans. The Bengals against the Browns, that'll probably be low scoring. But we're going to go with the Saints. Again, the Saints have a good defense. I think that Derrick Henry is going to have a good game here against the Saints, but I don't think that the Titans are going to score that many points. And, you know, if they only put up 14 points, the defense is probably going to have a solid day. for the Les Titans. So we got an 84 out of 100. In my opinion, this is a 105 out of 100. Our team is Justin Fields, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Tyreek the Freak Hill, Teehee, Higgins, Chig, Okonkwo. Our flexes are Pittman and Deontay Johnson. Our defense is the Saints. Our kicker is Harrison Bucker the fucker. Our bench is Alvin Kamara, Damian Harris, Nico Collins, Wiki, DJ Chark, Gerald Everett, and Zamir Whites. Thank you guys all so much for watching today's video. If you did end up enjoying, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, as well as hitting that like button. It would help me out a ton. If you want to follow me on Twitter, please do so at NotoriousFantasy. I love you guys all so much. Hope you have a great rest of your guys' day, and as always, good boy.